I'm Amy Williams and I'm a weightlifter for Great Britain. I have competed on an international level representing my country 4 times. Weightlifting's not a sport where you think, oh, I'm going to go and be a professional weightlifter and earn loads of money. The reason that I do weightlifting is because of my love for the sport. So now, especially within female weightlifting, we're doing things that people never expected. Imagine what they could do if they actually had the funding that I think everyone has earned. So I got into weightlifting through CrossFit. So I started CrossFit in Manchester in 2014, and then I came back to Norwich, is where I grew up. So I started competing in CrossFit, and what I really found was that I just loved the weightlifting side of things. The cardio, running and rowing was just not my jam, and I wasn't very good at it either. So then I really excelled at the weightlifting, which is what made me think, oh, actually, I'm going to enter a weightlifting competition. And at my first weightlifting competition, I qualified for the English Championship. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe there's something here. I might be pretty good at this. And then, I continued to keep competing. And then one day I was like, if I want to really make something of this, then I need to stop doing CrossFit and just focus all of my training into weightlifting. And it was probably the best decision that I ever made, so I stopped doing CrossFit completely in 2017. And then, haven't looked back since. I say that, I still occasionally dabble in CrossFit here and there, just for a bit of fun and to train with friends. Anything that had more of a technique to it, I kind of nailed that quite quickly, and then that allowed me to just focus on the technique, get stronger, and then just get better at the movement, which is what I found with the snatch and the clean and jerk. To date, my favourite achievements are probably the whole last 2 years has been kind of crazy and surreal for me, but definitely representing my country for the first time at the European Championships. And then being selected again, so I've now represented 4 times, so that's amazing, and I've won multiple British and English titles. So training can be pretty tough, especially when you have to work 9 till 5 alongside competing. It can vary day to day, so some days you'll have good days, some days you'll just feel like it's pretty exhausting, and you'll leave work and have to then kind of forget about everything and just focus solely on the end goal, whether that is just taking it day by day and getting through your training session, or looking at the end goal, but reaching the Olympics or the Commonwealth Games or whatever competition it is coming up. So you kind of just have to embrace everything and do what you can do to support your training in your recovery and your sleep and your nutrition, and just do everything you can to make it possible. On a day-to-day training session, most of the time I'll either be doing either snatch or clean and jerk, and then obviously some days I will do both lifts. Generally I'll squat every day, and squatting is one of my favourite accessories to do. As well as that, we'll do pulls, snatch pulls, clean pulls, dead pulls, and then loads of other accessory work around that. Core work, pull-ups, lots of rows, just trying to get stronger in all areas really. Well, I squat about 4 times a week, and it will be depending on what part of the cycle we're in. At the minute I'm doing 8s on back squats, so 4 sets of 8s, which is pretty horrendous. And then slowly, closer to competition, it will kind of taper off a bit, and you'll get down to triples and things as the weight gets heavier. So the volume work is hard. What gets me in the zone? I think when I get to train around other weightlifters of similar standards to me, I embrace every single moment of that, because on a day-to-day basis, I generally train on my own. So then when I am around other people, it really pushes me and makes me strive to be a little bit better. But then saying that, I also try and take that into my own training when I'm on my own, because obviously I can't be around people all the time. So knowing that I can push myself when I'm on my own and when I'm around people is a really good thing. With the learning curve of weightlifting, there's a lot of focus on techniques. So day to day, you'll be tweaking techniques, and that's probably a good thing to really refine, like quite far out from competition. So then when you're getting closer to competition, you're focusing on just getting those heavy lifts done and bringing in everything that you've been learning throughout that whole cycle. You can never be perfect. And I think that's what I really like about weightlifting, is that you're always striving for more, and you can always be stronger, you can always be better. There's always that kilo that you can add on and on every single time. So I'm quite new to the sport, so I'm still refining my technique as well as getting stronger. So I think getting stronger is the easy part, and then the technique is the part where you'll just keep working and working for years and years, but that's what I really like. Yeah, so when I'm at work, I sit there and sometimes I'm like, oh, why am I not in the gym? But I also really appreciate my colleagues around me, because they really support me and they understand everything that I'm doing. So they're flexible in giving me the time that I need for competitions, and luckily for me, everything that I need is quite close around me, so I can walk to work, and the gym is just up the road from me. So I've made it work for me and everything that I can do. Yeah, so some days they're like, Amy's pretty tired. Or actually, most of the time it's, Amy's cutting weight, so I can't have that biscuit. But no, they are good. And yeah, everyone is supportive, so I tend to take a day off if I need to really cut weight, and so I'm not getting all grumpy. Not with my colleagues or the customers, because neither of those things are ideal. So most people think weightlifting is powerlifting. So on a day-to-day basis, they'll ask me what I can bench, what I can squat, what I can deadlift. And then I'm like, that's not weightlifting. Weightlifting is snatch and clean and jerk, and whereas they are kind of similar, they're also completely different. So I always think of weightlifting as more the technical movements, whereas powerlifters are like raw strength movements. So yeah, on a day-to-day basis, people want to know what I can bench. The first time I remember watching the Olympics was in like 2012, when I was watching Super Saturday with Jess Ennis and Mo Farah, and the support that they had was amazing. And I think there wouldn't have been one person watching that moment where you just want to stand up there and just embrace everything, and for you to be able to represent your country on the highest level. There's competitions run from all ages, so you can get involved really, really young, and then you can go on to be a master in weightlifting. So the seniors runs up until age 35, and then from then the 35 plus, and it breaks down into each age group within the masters category. So I mean, weightlifting itself is just a really good sport to keep fit and enjoy doing some exercise at the same time. So I would tell everyone just to go and give it a go, because I think you'll find that you love it more than you expect to. It's not all just scary heavy weights. And you don't have to do cardio. So yeah, that's the best thing. So every time I compete, I'm focused on making sure that I'm doing better than I did at my last competition. Not necessarily about, like, placing is really important too, but making sure that those improvements that you've made within the gym are also reflected out on the platform. I get on with most of my competitors, so especially on an international level, I've made so many new friends from going out and competing in all different countries, and that just makes it so much better is going to then see those same faces over and over again. And yeah, I've made some really good friends along the way. But then also on the platform, it's competition time. So I think then I'm just solely focused on my own competition, and I'm not really worried about what else is going on around me, because that's what the coaches are there for. They can worry about that, they can worry about the board. I just go out and give it everything I've got and lift the numbers that I'm capable of lifting. So the Olympic qualification procedure is pretty crazy, and you have to compete 6 times over an 18-month period, so it's pretty grueling procedure, having to make weight and peak for competition so many times. It can be quite taxing on the body. So there's a big table, and you have to build up so many Roby points as you can in order to then be in the top 8, or to then to qualify per continental ranking. So it's pretty confusing to explain it, but it's cool to see my name up there on the rankings board, and I'll keep pushing, as well as pushing on to my next goals as well beyond that. So I also want to be able to medal at Commonwealth in Birmingham in 2022. So yeah, all my training is going into that, and yeah, it's quite nice. This last year has been so crazy, and now I've got a little bit of downtime just to focus on getting stronger and just to keep getting better and better every day. So previously, in the lead up to 2012, there was a lot more funding available, and the British athletes were able to live and train like professional athletes. But because we weren't able to hit those targets that we were expected to hit within the Olympics, then that funding was removed. So now there is no funding. So you'll find that most athletes also, whether it be a part-time job or a full-time job, are working alongside training, which makes everything a lot harder, because you can't focus just on recovery. You can't just go and have a nap between sessions, and you have to, like for me, I have to be really prepared throughout my day, so I have to make sure that I have all the right food that I need to fuel me through the day, and then to make sure that I'm feeling good for when I have finished work, and I am going to get into the gym. So yeah, it's a shame, because actually looking back on it, we did hit those goals that we wanted to hit. But what has happened since the 2012 Olympics is that they've discovered that more people were actually doing drugs, and they have then since got their placings removed, and therefore it's bumped everyone up. So technically we did hit those goals, but it's too late now. So looking back, it's a shame, but we just have to focus on moving forwards now. So I never got into weightlifting for the money, and I don't think anyone ever does. Weightlifting's not a sport where you think, oh, I'm going to go and be a professional weightlifter and earn loads of money. The reason that I do weightlifting is because of my love for the sport. So I think having the funding removed has definitely taken the limelight off weightlifting a little bit, whereas I guess if it was having lots of money pumped into it, then people would expect things. So now, especially within female weightlifting, we're doing things that people never expected, and that's what partly makes the achievements of the female team so great, because look what they can do without all this money and without being professional athletes as such, and imagine what they could do if they actually had the funding that I think everyone has earned. So it has been a huge debate about how are we supposed to achieve what is expected, or what people want us to achieve, if there's no money being put into the sport. So obviously the more money and the more energy and time you commit into something, the more you're going to achieve off the back of that. So I think with the medals that we have won in recent years, it just shows even more so that we could be capable of so much more if we had the right support. I work to pay my bills, and then I also have to fund competitions, so some of it I'll make up myself, but I have been really lucky with sponsors and friends and family who have supported me like the whole way, and meant that I've been able to go to these competitions and not had to say no because I don't have the money to support myself. That allows me to be as flexible as I need to be, and yeah, push everything towards that, being better every day. So I think the sport is progressing, as I said, especially on the female side of things, and the better we do, the more exposure we get, and then I think maybe in a couple of years, because of where we are now, then that funding probably will come back and we'll be able to keep progressing and hopefully put more money into the up-and-coming weightlifters and to keep people going for a long, long time. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some Olympic medals soon.